Sephora stores are everywhere you are. So just pop in when you need a brown lip to match your 90s playlist. A confidence boost before your interview? Or a last-minute gift for mom's birthday? There's always a Sephora near you. Just pop in. Use our store locator to find your local Sephora or Sephora at Kohl's.
Hey nerds, welcome to The Paper Fold. I'm your host Sarah, the Paper Nerd, and I'm so glad to be back nerding out with you on my favorite topic, stationery. My most colorful guest today has literally been driving the international news cycle every December for decades now. But before I get to her, I want to call out an all-American stationery brand that has been elevating moments big and small for 40 years and counting. Avanti Press. Whatever your taste, this Detroit brand always has something up its sleeve poised to capture moments big and small. New this month, Avanti Press is rolling out what they're calling theme strip signage for their fascinating history-driven America collection, which I am told promises to be a completely new way to shop for cards. And their spring 2025 collection just dropped with 68 new designs from the Avanti and Nikki D brands for Valentine's Day and more. While Avanti Press has been a big part of the American greeting card landscape since the 80s, behind the scenes it has strived to make stationery the one-of-a-kind collaborative space that other creative industries envy. A lot of that happens at the Greeting Card Association, who throws amazing community events for its members, like Noted and the upcoming GCA workshop and retreat. That's coming up this October in Denver, Colorado, and promises camaraderie, inspiration, and a whole lot of greeting card know-how. Your gateway to it all starts at greetingcard.org. Now, on to my guest. Leatrice Eiseman, or Lee as most of us call her, is the executive director of the Pantone Color Institute and the director of the Eisman Center for Color Information and Training. Simply put, for nearly 25 years, Lee has generated the Pantone Color of the Year and helped us come up with the very concept of assigning a color to a given year. I personally first became acquainted with Lee in the early years of my career when someone very wise told me to take an hour off the National Stationery Show floor to attend one of Lee's famed color seminars. Dear listener, I have not seen color the same since then, and hopefully after this episode, neither will you. Clearly, I have a million questions for Lee. Among them, can she give us a hint of what the color of the year will be next year? And I'll have her on right after this. Hey nerds, by now most of you are doubtless familiar with that fantastic and fantastical LA-based brand, Girl with Knife, as well as its creative powerhouse founder, Alicia Castaldi. This brand's rise and evolution has been as dramatic and sharp as, well, the edge of a knife. That's because Girl with Knife is more than your new BFF in paper goods and home decor. It's a mood and a lifestyle, as illustrated by the awards it's stacked up in its brief existence like so many pairs of Jimmy Choos. Alicia won the highly competitive and coveted Artist of the Year Louis Award in 2022 and also took Best Use of Profanity honors in the Noted and Noted Awards not once, but twice. Since then, she has been busy living up to those monikers both within the stationery and gift communities and beyond. Because Alicia's perspective extends beyond product and into our entire surroundings, she has chosen to redesign a series of houses dotted across Southern California, from Bel Air to Palm Springs, with an eye toward creating living design spaces for her brand. She calls these Knife Houses, and they are receiving major airtime from HGTV and the like. Knife House Bel Air is finally complete, and you can go behind the scenes with Alicia 24/7 as she takes the space from ho-hum to jaw-dropping on Instagram. Just follow Knife House Design, all one word, and let the before and afters begin. Meanwhile, Girl with Knife is the first paper brand I can think of to receive major international press coverage in Hola Magazine Spain, as well as Hello Magazine UK and Hola Magazine Mexico. Behind all the glamour, however, there is authentic emotion and edge behind each product Alicia creates, be it greeting card, candle, art print, or desk must-have. Alicia has been a guest on this podcast and shared how autobiographical notes run through every last piece. There is so much more than meets the eye. While it is hard for me to pick a favorite, I am so drawn to Alicia's Your Simply Exquisite design, showcasing a delicate heron against yellow and white flowers on a sea of pink. It's a wrap, it's a candle, and it's a greeting card, so you can truly immerse yourself in every last design. So, if you're a paper nerd out in the wild looking to express your best self as you uplift those you adore, head on over to girlwithknife.com and immerse yourself. Meanwhile, if you are in the trade, shop this brand sensation exclusively on Fair 24/7. I guarantee your stationery, as well as your living and workspaces, will slay. Lee, welcome to the Paper Fold.
I'm delighted to be here with you.
Thank you so much for dropping in. So every year, everyone gets excited about the color of the year, and not just those in the design space. It's all consumers. But before we get into it, I want to step back to kind of discuss the entire color of the year concept. It actually started in 1999 when you predicted the color of the Millennium.
Right.
So what was it?
Well, it was a beautiful shade of sky blue. And different people called it different names depending on what they thought it was. But it was really a lovely Pantone color. And if you're interested in how we did it and why we did it, why we came to that color.
Yeah. Very curious.
Yeah. Well, we started to get calls and emails, particularly from the media, who wanted to know if Pantone had chosen a color of the new millennium. And it's a fascinating idea. And of course, because we're so involved in the psychology of color, it was important for us to get the point across that it's not just a color that's chosen because it's beautiful to look at, but there's always a reason behind it, a rationale.
Yes.
And I chose that particular shade of blue because if anybody was around at that time, they remember there was a lot of nervousness about the clock stopping and the computers not working and all kinds of weird things happening in the new millennium. But at the same time, there was this feeling of great optimism. It's a new century. What lies ahead? What is technology going to bring us? The good technology stuff. And so blue just sort of, to me, represented the heavens that lie above us and stretch out before us, a feeling of tranquility, something we could depend on, and blue is often associated with those thoughts. And it would alleviate any nervousness that people had about the clock stopping. So it would be the perfect color to get started with as far as the color of the new millennium is concerned.
Yes, I mean, blue is the color of sea and sky. It's boundless. It has promise. It is, it's the perfect sort of shade to kick off a new millennium. Hey nerds, many of you are already familiar with Paper Baristas and its incredible founder, Christy Asper. Christy was my guest on episode 56 of The Paper Fold and is also a longtime friend and sponsor of our Nerd Notes segment. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce something special just for the new year, Paper Baristas Fair Trade Planners 2025. Year in and year out, the following for these babies grows, since users find that these gorgeous creations quickly become as essential to getting anything done as that first cup of coffee. What sets Paper Baristas pressed planners apart from all the rest, however, is not just their stellar design, but that every last aspect of their manufacture truly aims to improve our planet. They are fair trade certified, made with eco-friendly materials, with 10% of the profits donated to the International Justice Mission to fight human trafficking. That means that even after the year ends, your purchase is helping someone's fresh start. Take it from me, I look at products all day, every day, and it is very difficult, if not outright impossible, to create a product that doesn't just look good, but truly does good as well. Their fair trade pressed planners are a labor of love to bring into the world every year. Christy has written that between material shortages and keeping factories audited for safe working environments, it's truly a miracle to generate each batch. Part of what makes these so remarkable is that when Christy first designed them, no one was approaching the planner category so responsibly. How empowering is it to choose to spend your money on a product so carefully and lovingly brought to life, especially when so much in this product category is not made responsibly? Pressed planners stand apart thanks to their easy luxury and utter simplicity. They enable you to completely organize your life and look ultra polished while doing so. Each posh, library cloth covered cover is graced with metal book corners to match the foil printing along its front and wire rings along its side. These are durable, strong, and gorgeous, and promise to remain so as you journey through your year. Inside, each month has a tabbed section that kicks off with a page dedicated to your own personal monthly blend, aka your goals and important dates. That's followed by a month at a glance spread, followed by a series of weekly spreads on the left with dot grids for notes and doodles on the right. Every last element unites so you can have your entire life in control, literally within your hands. Since 2019, this Iowa family-owned brand has devoted itself to leaving the earth a better place by creating goods that are eco-conscious, fair trade, and give back. Supporting paper baristas means supporting this lofty, heady mission. 2025 Fair Trade pressed planners are now available for pre-order, but act quickly. Due to fair trade margins, these are produced in small quantities and they sell out quickly. Visit paperbaristas.com to see why behind every successful person is a substantial amount of coffee and a Paper Barista's Fair Trade Planner. Finally, while you're there, check out the other wonderful collections from this mission-driven, all-American brand. From Swedish dishcloths to microfiber tea towels to some of the most gorgeous handmade cards you've seen, you'll elevate both your world and our common good. How did you get from coming up with a color of the Millennium to deciding to do a color every year? Like, can you speak?
What happened was that we had such amazing response to the color of Millennium. Quite frankly, I thought, wow, there's a lot of interest here. And it has started a conversation. And that, to me, in the world of color is the most important. I tell my students all the time, if you can get a conversation started about color, it can be so revealing about people and who they are and their aspirations and their thoughts. And I mean, it's a wonderful subject to discuss. And I thought, if there's this much interest, then we need to continue this. And I went to Lawrence Herbert, who was then the owner of Pantone, and I said, I think we need to do this every year. And people are just fascinated by it. And it certainly has started a lot of conversations. And from there on, for the last 25 years, that's what we've been doing.
Absolutely. I mean, I love it. Color is such a, emotional topic. People have connections to colors that are not, that are outside like the realm of logic. And so it's such a fascinating topic, and to ascribe a color to a year is just, to me, a new way of kind of like looking at time. So, in a way, it's almost like we regard years a little differently because we're ascribing a different color to every year. I just think it's fascinating, and I get really excited about that. So, now that, as you point out, it's existed for almost 25 years, there's a huge public expectation every year, followed by a lot of discussion with people saying, oh, I like it. Oh, I don't like it. Oh, this is why it's horrible. This is why it's wonderful. So I see it in my social media. So I'm curious, do you pay attention to that, that sort of feedback you get just from the public at large?
Well, of course we do. And we have for years been doing color word association studies.
Oh, wow.
And this is a great way to look at how people respond. But at the same time, you always have to remember that people do have some personal reactions to color that are based on their own lives and things that have happened to them, whether they've been based in something that made them very happy as a child, because it all comes from our childhood,
Right.
made them very sad as a child, or it caused trauma. So you're going to have positive or negative reactions. But my challenge always is, and I tell my students all the time, when somebody gives you a really negative reaction, or even a very positive reaction, it's good to dig into it. I mean, you become a color therapist, so to speak. Why do you think you feel that way? Can you remember anything, particularly in your childhood, that reminds you of something that you might have gone through that made you very sad or very happy, or, caused, as I said, trauma? I think the perfect example of that is, the little kid who rides a tricycle that's candy apple red, and they love it. And then mommy and daddy say, you're ready for a new bike and you're going to get a two-wheeler. And of course, he wants that candy apple red again because he loved his tricycle. And the first time he gets on it, he falls off of it, breaks his ankle, and he can't go out and play with his friends. And he's sequestered for several weeks. So that candy apple red bike doesn't have some of the best memories to push out the negative memories. But what you always have to say to people is, but that happened in your childhood. Is it still relative today? Does it have any meaning in your current life? And so you're eliminating a color that really could have a lot of meaning for you, because it would bring back the happy, positive concepts rather than the negative thinking.
Right. I mean, you could work through your trauma through the color.
Exactly.
By resolving your feelings through the color, you can start to attack the core issue, so to speak.
Right.
And I agree with you totally. I think, when I put anything out, getting a deep response is very positive from anyone. It's when it just goes by them and they don't register it one way or another that, as a creative, as any sort of maker, you failed if they're not engaging with it, even if it's a negative engagement. So, I have had the pleasure of seeing several of your seminars throughout my career. I always love them. And I really, when I give a seminar, they're always sort of in the back of my mind, the standard to which I kind of want to create a great visual presentation, because you just sort of get lost in the world of color, and it's so imaginative, and you learn about the world outside you, but you learn a little about yourself as well. But one of the things you've spoken about in your seminars that I just think is so interesting is early adopters. So say, I don't remember the year or the name of the tone, but I know one year you picked sort of very vibrant orange, which wasn't for everyone. And you would say, well, some people are early adopters, and, they take that risk with that orange cashmere sweater, and then they wear it out with their friends, and their friends, it sort of grows on them, and then the trend sort of moves out. Can you talk about that process at all? I just think I've always thought it was so fascinating.
Well, I think you're referring to Tangerine Tango in particular.
Yes, that's it. Thank you.
Rather bold choice for us, no question of that. However, at the same time, it again started the conversation. And it was so interesting to us, because when you reach out in the world of people you don't even know, this adorable couple wrote to us and said, "We're so inspired by Tangerine Tango that we have done a dance video, dancing, and we're wearing orange, and we're dancing to a tango." And it was sensational. Well, how could we resist it? We certainly had to put it out there for people to see. And it became sort of the standard for Tangerine Tango. People were fascinated by it. And what it did do was to open their minds to the usage of orange, even for people who might say, oh, orange, I'm not so sure. But remember, color is all about context. It's like in real estate. It's all about location, location, location.
Right.
And with color, it's the same thing. How and where are you using it? I'm not suggesting it on the four walls of your kitchen. That's just too bold a color. And besides that, it is an appetite stimulant. So we may not want to go there for that reason. But if we had an all gray living room and we walked in one day and said, oh, we need some color in here. We need a touch of something. We need some fun. And you buy a few pillows that have orange in them and you put them on the sofa. And you walk in and you say, yeah, this is fun. This is new. This is fresh. And of course, that's what trends are all about.
Right. We're also novelty driven. It's part of it's in the American blood, so to speak. We'll be right back after this.
Is the pressure of your wedding day being perfect from sunrise to sunset weighing on your mind? Planning a wedding can be stressful, but it shouldn't be. And that's why we're here to help. On the Bridezilla podcast, we celebrate love and help you plan your wedding day. We're all about keeping it real and having fun every step of the way. So whether you're just starting to plan or counting down the days, we're here to help you stay cool, calm, and collected. We have expert tips and amazing guests. Let's get this party started and embrace your inner Bridezilla. Listen to Bridezilla wherever you get your podcasts or visit us at thebridezilla.com.
And we're back. I'm also curious because I think this is fascinating. Can you describe the process you go through to look at each color of the year? Because I know it's an international quest and it is also across industries. So can you describe that?
Well, of course, we are all very well traveled, those of us who are working on it. So we do take into consideration that international perspective. We also look at certain industries to see where they are, where they're going with color. Even though it might sound strange to look at the automotive industry, but we do, not the cars that are coming out that are going to be in the showroom, but the concept cars. Because those designers really reach far out, and technology is a very important part of where they're going. They're creating colors because of a new technology that's out there that maybe creates a sheen on the color that's a little different than what we might have seen before. So that's an industry we look at. Certainly fashion, it's a given, because so many fashion designers will push the envelope. And if you start to see a trend developing, one of the things that I do every year, twice a year, are reviewing the fashion shows from New York and London, as well as the other large areas, Milan and Paris and so on. And we do online, on Pantone, we do the fashion color report. And that also gives us insight into what's being shown for the future. We work on color trends from the standpoint also of what's happening in the world of art. At one point, that wasn't such a big consideration because if you're dealing with the public, they really weren't that aware, or it was a very elitist kind of concept. How many people go to museums, that type of thing. But, that all changed in Las Vegas when Steve Wynn brought in the Jackson Pollock exhibit. And I was there to do a talk that year. And I will never forget the line that formed to go in to see Jackson Pollock. All kinds of people were down on the floor, playing blackjack and everything. And here is this other huge line of people waiting to see Jackson Pollock. Because Steve Wynn brought that into the Bellagio. It got a lot of press, a lot of attention. And then on top of that, was installed in the Bellagio this beautiful Chihuly exhibit of glass, all of that gorgeous glass in the ceiling that people had never had access to before, didn't even know who Chihuly was. So my point is that we started to notice this great movement, this direction in people being more aware of what's happening in the world of art. In addition to that, art became much more available at a price point that more people could afford. Or you could afford to buy posters. You wouldn't necessarily buy the original, but you could bring that into your home and be influenced by it. So that was important too. The world of sports. Is there going to be an Olympics, and where is it going to be held, and what city is it in, and are there colors that are familiar in that city that people seem to gravitate to that are going to get more attention? Cosmetics, of course, go along with fashion because cosmetics people are always looking at the new trends and absorbing them. So we look at that world in addition. We look at the world of entertainment. That's super important because millions of people all over the world. In Korea, they're watching American movies. We watch English movies and have for years. I mean, there is this interplay across societies where we see the way people are dressing, what they're wearing. Is there a theme in that film? Does that director have a proclivity to certain colors? So can we expect to see that? So we have to look ahead. We don't look at what's on the drawing board today, but we have to look at what's happening in the future and how that's going to impact the world of color. I mean, if you recall Shrek, that turned the children's markets on its ear because Shrek was that wonderful shade of green. And he was a beloved character. So we knew that that was going to be a big seller. And we got hold of that information about 3 years before the movie actually came out.
Wow.
So, we have to look at prognosticators. We have to look at indications of not this year and even next year, what's happening even beyond that.
Wow. I mean, that's incredible. I mean, to have your finger on all those different pulses is an incredible challenge in and of itself. And of course, as you were speaking, I was thinking, well, gosh, in this century, we also got social media. We also got streaming services. We also, there's TikTok, there's Instagram, like all of that also affects the way that we experience color. And also speeds up the way we get our media, and it's very interesting. So you talked a little bit about planning a few years out. How far out have you planned colors of the year? Like, I know you've got to have 25, but do you have 26 and 27?
No, and I think really to reach that far out, I think does a disservice because, as we know, the world is changing rapidly and all the time, and we have to stay on top of the zeitgeist, we call it. I didn't mention that as one of the things that we look at, but certainly that's a huge consideration that we do in evaluating a color. Does it represent how people are wanting to feel? What do we feel are the big indicators? Now, for example, this year for Peach Fuzz, it became very obvious to us about a year and a half ago, if not sooner, that there was this need, particularly after coming out of COVID, this need to be able to reach out and touch, to find something that had a very tactile element to it. And even the Pantone name, Peach Fuzz, even though you might not be able to feel the fuzz, still tells you what it's all about. It's that tactile, reaching out, comforting. I want to wrap myself in the baby blanket that's peach color. I want that kind of element. I need that kind of reassurance. And so we deliberately chose a color that we felt would be reflective of that kind of feeling. And obviously, it just hits it gives an emotional message. It provides a tug at people's emotions. And we get all kinds of reactions from people when we present the color of the year. And Peach Fuzz, I have to say that every year it's gotten even bigger. And the conversation's gotten bigger. And we've gotten some wonderful comments about the shade. And of course, you notice my glasses happen to
Yes. As you're wearing it, I should have worn Peach Fuzz. Yeah, I love that it's tactile. It's off a screen. It's a fruit. It's a baby's face. It's there's all these different sort of references, and I think in stationery it was very much the next iteration of blush. Like it's still like a pinky tone, but it's not millennial pink or Barbie pink, to throw out a few popular pinks of the past couple of years.
Yes.
So can you give us, I know I didn't send you this question ahead, but I can't not ask, can you give us any hint? I've got to imagine that the color of the year for 25 is going to be big because, like you say, it's your quarter century anniversary. Can you give us any hint of what it's going to be?
No. I can't.
All right.
You can tie me to a chair and torture me, but you can't get the words out of my mouth. I cannot do that.
That's okay. I understand. I couldn't not ask since I had you in the room, but I will just wait in anticipation with the rest of the world, I suppose.
Yes.
So before we go, it's time for Nerd Notes. In this segment, each of us share a favorite card or letter you received, just the first that comes to your head. And I'll go first. I misplaced this, and then I found this. I must have written up Etsy when they first came out. And so it was probably several owners ago, but they sent me this amazing print. Really, it could be for you. It says, every day you inspire people you have never met. Love, Etsy. I mean, I thought that was like the nicest thing for Etsy to send different creatives. And then they put it on a postcard for me to send to someone, but I kept it because I don't want to send it. And it just says, thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts for your support. Enthusiasm and collaborative spirit. We're deeply honored to work with you. With appreciation, Rand and the Etsy wholesale team. So I just thought it was lovely, and what a great message. And every time I see Etsy, I sort of smile. And they're actually an orange-ish brand. So.
That's lovely. I mean, it's a wonderful way to express yourself, to send someone a card that they can open and look at and study and feel and put up on a table and remind them as they walk by it. I don't think anything's ever going to replace that wonderful feeling. But I have to say to you that when I was being courted a long time ago by my husband, he loved to send me cards, and the sillier, the better. And of course, you know that, as you well know, Sarah, any attraction in a marriage is a sense of humor. That's got to be there. And he sent me, when you sent me the request for what card I remembered, I went through my scrapbook and I found one that was so precious. It's a kind of a nerdy looking guy with hair kind of sticking out in all directions. And on the front of the card, it says, when we're apart, and you open up, and there the card has a hole in it. And it says, there's a hole in my heart.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I mean, it was just this darling comedic little picture. And yet it said so much to me. It said so much to me that I have held on to it for many, many years.
I agree.
It's right there.
It's right there.
I'm going to show it to you.
All right, I want to see.
Okay, I have to show it to you because here he is.
I remember when there used to be.
I can't tell. I mean, it looks like a dress, but I guess it could be a guy in a dress. But I mean, the nerdy hair. And of course, when you open it up, whoops, let's see the hole in the heart. His message was on the back. So I'm not going to show you his message. But that actually is a hole.
That's so sweet. I just want to know who made it. Like, I am such a, is it from who, is it a brand that we still know?
No, it's called the Four, and the Four is a letter for the Forers, D. Forer and Company, Forer.
That's so funny. Well,
From
they
New
probably exhibited at National Stationery Show back in the day. But isn't that funny? I love that you have like a vintage card, because it's interesting too to see how cards have evolved, since then. That's amazing, and also I love the configuration. Like, you don't really see those tall, narrow, rectangular cards anymore. And how sweet. Well,
It was. And thank you for making me dig into my scrapbook, because it was wonderful to look through all of that.
Thank you. It was my pleasure. And I cannot thank you enough for coming by and sharing your insights. I'm so excited to see what next year's color of the year is.
Well, we're excited to do that. And if you should get to the Tucson area, that's where I'm living now. And I would love to see you again. We're very excited here in Tucson because we're able now to do our classes again, which we couldn't do during COVID. And we still do them online, but we are having people come back. And we're going to have people looking at the gorgeous colors of our sunset in early November when we do another color class. So come to Tucson and visit.
Okay, I would love that. And I will link to your classes as well in the liner notes, because if you are interested in color, or design, you will leave one of these classes with a whole new understanding and appreciation for color and what's around you. And they're incredible. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lee, for dropping in the Paperfold. The way you explain color and how it defines our lives will never not be fascinating to me. Anyone interested in becoming a color maven as well, check out Lee's classes at leatriceeisman.com. So when it comes to the color of the year for 2025, since I could not get Lee to spill, I'm forecasting a shade of green that can speak to growth and potentially even unity. Think of the laurel wreath, which doesn't just symbolize victory and glory, but also much needed spiritual evolution. Time will tell, I suppose. Finally, thank you for listening. Of course, feel free to give me a 5-star rating and review if you are so inclined. The Paperfold is proud to be a member of the Evergreen Podcasts Network. To learn more about this dynamic community, please visit evergreenpodcast.com. Thank you so much, nerds, and please stay safe out there.